Hi everyone. You're about to see block number 2, February, for our Jelly Roll Block of the Month challenge. This block is called Log Cabin. It's a super traditional block and I'm sure you'll enjoy doing it. If you're not already participating in our Block of the Month challenge, check right below this video. You'll find a link to my Facebook group where you'll find everything you need. Come join in the fun. So let's get sewing. So we're going to start by selecting 2 strips from your jelly roll or your fabric set. You want them to be contrasting. So if you don't have any light colors, you might want to cut something from some yardage just to give you that contrast that you need for this block. You're also going to need 1 4.5-inch square. I realize I have 4 here. I went a little overboard, but I wanted to look at the difference. Traditionally, on a log cabin, the center block is red to represent the heart of the home. I thought that was fitting for February since it is Valentine's Day in February. I'm not sure that I wanted to use the red though, because it's the only red I'll have in my quilt and it will end up being the focus spot. Your eyes will go right to that red block. Mind you, I do have some more red fabric, so I could use it, scatter it throughout the quilt in maybe 2 other blocks, just so it gives a more uniform color to my quilt. I like it though, because I like the contrast. I like the way it pops. I also looked at using a yellow because you can use really any color that you want. This is traditional, but if you don't want to go with the red, you can always use another color that works well. I looked at the yellow, but I find it's too bright for the rest of my strip set. I don't really like it, so I set that aside. I looked at the green, and I like that. It's subtle. It's more green than you see in the video. The color is not translating well to the video, and it does work well with the rest of my block, actually. The rest of my strip set, I think this color will work really well with it. So I might go with the green. I also wanted to mention, if you really don't have any fabric that you can cut for a 4.5-inch square, you can always take strips from your strip set. You'll need 2 pieces of 4.5-inch, just sew a scan 1/4-inch seam to make a 4.5-inch block, if that's what you prefer to do. If you really want to use a color from your jelly roll or your strip set, you can always do that. That would be perfectly fine too. So now I just need to decide if I'm going to go with the red or the green. I think it's going to be the red. I think we're going to go traditional. So I'll just set these aside. I'm not going to throw them away because I definitely might want to use them later on. So we'll go with the red. We'll put that aside. So now we're going to cut our strips. I press my strips before I start cutting. We're not going to stack them because we have different sizes to cut. A couple of pieces are the same size, but not all. So we're going to cut them separately. We'll start with the lighter fabric. If you're looking at the PDF, I call it the A fabric. If you have a salvage end on your strips, you're going to want to take it off, cut it off, make sure you have a nice straight edge. Another thing I really like about this strip set is that so far I haven't found any salvage ends in it, so I'm happy with that. So for our first fabric, the light fabric or fabric A, we're going to start by cutting a 4.5. We need a 4.5. Then we need a 6.5. So there's my half. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. And we'll move this over. Our next strip will be an 8.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. and a half. Make sure that's straight. And we need a 10 and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and a half. There we go. So these are our light strips. We'll just set those aside. We're going to continue on. You don't want to throw away any of your leftover strips. Keep them. Later on in the quilt, you'll have blocks where you require just pieces of different colors to put together in a block. So you definitely don't want to throw away any pieces. Okay. We're going to cut our darker strip or our B strip. And the first cut is 6 and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half. Then we need an 8 and a half. So there's our half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Move this up. We need a 10 and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and a half. And our last strip is a 12 and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and a half. Okay, so there's our dark strips. So we're just going to set aside our fabric again, our little leftover pieces. We want to keep those. And we're going to lay out our block. So we're going to start with our center square, 4.5 inch square, whatever color you chose. You'll put that in the center. You'll take your 4.5 light fabric and put it to the right. And your next piece is a 6.5 light fabric. You'll put it to the top. When you lay it out, you'll see that they don't fit exactly, but they will once you start adding your seams to the block, they will fit. So we'll go with our 6.5 dark fabric. And I wanted to mention, if you're using directional pattern, make sure that you're laying it out so that your pattern is all facing in the same direction. You don't want some going left, some going right, up and down, all mixed up. It'll take away from the finished look of the block. So try to be careful about laying your pattern in the right direction. These are pretty random patterns, so it's not something I have to worry about at this point. So we added a 6.5 to the side and an 8.5 to the bottom, and that will even out when our seams are done. Now we're going to add an 8.5 to the right side, an 8.5 light, and a 10.5 light to the top. We're going to add a 10.5 dark to the left and the 12.5 dark to the bottom. And this is how you lay out your block. So to sew it together, you want to start with your centerpiece and your 4.5 light color. You want to sew them together first. You're going to press your seam when you're finished, and then you're going to add your next piece. And you want to work around in a circle, progressively getting larger. So we'll start with this and continue on. And here's my first piece. My seam is pressed nice and flat. You want to keep pressing between seams so that you really get a nice finish. You also want to be sure when you come back for your next piece that you don't reverse it, because then your pattern is gone and your square is off center. So you want to make sure that you're always laying it down where it's supposed to be before you add the next piece. That way you're double checking that you're adding your pieces in the right place. So I'm going to sew this one on and I'll be back for the next. Here's my next piece done. You can see that I'm pressing between every seam to keep it nice and flat. We've done the right, the top, we'll do the left. So be sure you're always placing it back in the right direction before you add another piece. And here we go. And what would happen if I would turn it this way by mistake? My pattern would be completely off. So let's make sure that my pattern is on the left and the bottom. The light color is on the right or the top. I'm going to add my bottom strip. Then I will continue by adding right, top, left, bottom. And there we have it, a traditional log cabin block. I need to square up my block, make sure everything fits nicely and finishes at 12.5 inches. I'll just trim off any little crooked edges. My seams have been pressed between every strip. I need to clean up all these little threads, make it nice and neat. I'm sure you'll find this block very easy to do. I thought I would go with something easier because January's block was a little more complicated, and it was fun, and you've all turned in beautiful block photos. I think they're really terrific. Let's turn this around. There we go. That's how I laid it out while I was sewing it. I decided to go with an easier block this month, and with the traditional red heart of the home. I thought was really fun to do. We're going to have a little more to do in March because we'll have 2 blocks, because March is a bonus block month. We want to finish the year with 16 blocks. So there will be 4 bonus blocks scattered throughout the year. And March will be one of those months when we do 2 blocks. So I'm going to square up my block and set it aside for my quilt. I hope you'll enjoy sewing this block. Don't forget to post pictures, and if you're not already participating, check below this video in the description. There's a link to my Facebook group where you can join in on the fun. Thank you for watching.